Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So we keep finding awesome guests and bringing them on the podcast. Our guest tonight is no different. Lauren Fernandez is an awesome lady. She went through the Secret Service training and was in the Secret Service for several years. She wrote a book about her experience, which is not what you think. It's not the typical tell-all book, but it's the side of the Secret Service and the training and all the things that those folks go through for those jobs. Super interesting. She's a high energy lady, very well spoken. Really love her message. And look, she called the book Talk Back Barbie because someone tried to give her that derogatory nickname in training, and she owned it. She took that nickname as her own and took control of it. And now she's built a brand around it. And we just love her approach to that, love her story about it. So without us talking about it, why don't we just let Lauren tell it in her own words? Let's bring Lauren onto the channel now. So Lauren, thank you so much for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. We spoke a while back, and through a series of unfortunate events, we've had to postpone until now. But I've been very excited about having you on the program. So you've written a book about your experience, which we will talk about. But our podcast is about getting people to live purposeful lives and really go after what's important to them. And a lot of people struggle to understand what it is they want and what's important to them. You had the exact opposite problem. You knew exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, this chick is nuts. This ain't going to happen, but you made it happen
Yeah.
anyways. And so it's a very different approach to what a lot of our guests talk about. So I've been very excited to have you come on and talk about your lifelong dream that you fulfilled and the experiences you
Mhm.
learned from it and all of those things. So, with that said, if you wouldn't mind doing just kind of a broad overview of your life, and then what we do is go
Yep.
back and we have kind of deeper conversations on the inflection points and the teachable moments and the lessons you learned, et cetera, et cetera. So the floor is yours. Tell us all about yourself.
Oh, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to do that. No, I'm just kidding. So I, my dad had two daughters, myself and my sister, and he wanted boys. So he kind of raised us like boys. But we did the debutante stuff. I loved doing hair and makeup. I loved, heels. But my lifelong dream since I was 10 years old was to join the FBI. And everyone kind of laughed at me. They didn't understand why I wanted to do such a manly career. That's a very male dominated career. And so it shocked a lot of people. And they kind of thought it was just one of those things that little girls say, hey, I want to be a princess. I want to be a horse rider. I want to be an FBI agent. And they kind of dismissed it. So I went and I did what I needed to do in college and tried a bunch of different majors. And my goal was to join a federal agency and do that for about 3 years and then apply to be in the FBI because I needed experience. So I actually got into the Secret Service, and that took me down a whole different path. And when I entered the Secret Service for the first day of training, and a technician looked at me and basically was like, you're not going to make it through training. You're never going to make it. And if you don't make it through the 6 months of intense federal law enforcement training, you're done. Your career's done. You can reapply next year, maybe, if you can even, pass the interview process and everything. So when he did that, I kind of was like, well, you're not going to fail me. This is what I've been wanting to do since I was 10 years old. And he put me through a lot of situations, probably unethical, but what it did was it made me more determined to work harder and to prove to everybody that said I couldn't do it, that you can't be blonde, blue-eyed, and like glitter and lip gloss and makeup and be in the Secret Service, because that's just not your typical stereotype. And I wanted to prove to him that you could be all those things and still be in the Secret Service. And so eventually, after 6 grueling months, I did that and I passed. And he was shocked, to say the least, that I made it through. But my book is about just the stories I encountered while I was there training. And not only that, it was what I had to overcome to prove myself. And then all the stupid things that I did because I am who I am. I have a big mouth, hence the name Talk Back Barbie. And I don't stand down very easily. And because of that, I got the nickname in training, Talk Back Barbie. And I did some funny things at the White House that are in the book, funny stories and situations, but it's just who I was, and I just wanted to tell the story and kind of make fun of myself, but also use it as a learning experience as well.
I love that. Absolutely love it. And yeah, so there's a ton of stuff to get in there. And
Oh yeah.
we're recording this in September. We're publishing it in December. Has your book launched yet? I know it was close. I don't know if it's launched yet or not.
Yeah, yes. So it's already been launched. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can get it all those different places. I had books that I was personally mailing out as well, but I've gone through all those since I've ordered. Yeah. So I probably need to order some more because I really like locally being able to, sign books and take them to local book clubs. I've done that a lot, and it's been a lot of fun. So.
I love that. So, and just so everyone knows, before we get too far, the link to buy Lauren's book will be in the show notes. So you don't have to go far. Just go down to the show notes, click the link. It'll take you to buy the book. So, but let's get into some deeper stuff. So why at 10 did you get this sudden urge or I don't even urge is the right way to say it, but why did you know then, hey, I'm going to become an FBI agent. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So I watched all of those real, true crime shows. I read a lot of books that were, the CSI. CSI was my most favorite program growing up, and it was very new back when I was in school. And so I was just obsessed with that. I would get the CSI, everything, right? The dolls, the games, and I just was enamored with just detective work, right? Like solving crimes and figuring things out. And I just wanted a job. I knew with my high like energy, I was not going to be able to sit behind a desk all day. And so I needed something that involved change and something different all the time. And I thought that that would be that. And so I was actually looking at local law enforcement for a long time because I would love to be a detective. That was really a goal of mine as well. And my dad was like, oh, don't go local. He's like, go federal. He's like, that's going to just have more prestige. You're going to get paid more. And so he was pushing me to go federal. And so that's when I started looking into FBI, Secret Service, NSA, and all that kind of stuff.
Got it. So just your natural affiliate. By the way, my mom loves true crime shows. That's all she literally all she does. Have you been watching this like, Mom, I've got a fucking job. Like I have work all day long. And then I do the podcast after I work. Like I have no time to watch this trial. What are you talking about? But
I love the true crimes. I love all the documentaries. I watch them all. And then I go and talk to my girlfriends about it and we discuss them because we're like, did it really happen? Do we really think this is who it is? We try to like figure it all out.
Yes, I love that.
It's really fun.
I love it. Yeah, look, I love that stuff. I just in my life right now, there's zero time for it. But I absolutely love all that stuff. So what did you pursue like a degree in criminal justice? What did you do in school?
So what I discovered was that the FBI was looking for four different like majors, right? Like they wanted computer science. They wanted you to have a law degree. They wanted you to be, they wanted you to do ACIS or accounting. They wanted you to do biochemistry, like in CSI, where they, are in the lab trying to figure everything out. So I attempted to try all of those degrees in college at Virginia Tech. And I use the word attempted because I did try all four of those degrees that the FBI is looking for and needs, and they were not for me. I could not do them. I could not pass them. I did not understand them. I was like, this is not for me. So I ended up doing political science, legal studies, and that is a major that can get you into pre-law. And so it was completely fine. And I would have been able to easily utilize that to get into the FBI. But to have one of those specialized degrees gets you looked at a lot faster than other people who have criminal justice or, an English major or something like that. Those are focal points that now this was 20 years ago. So they might be looking at different stuff now.
Sure.
But those were the majors that were very, very big 20 years ago when I was doing this.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. So you did your research to put yourself in the best position possible.
I would talk to FBI agents. I did all that kind of stuff because I was doing my research. I was trying to figure out what is going to put me in the best position to get into the FBI. And that's what I was trying to do. But that, again, I laugh at myself at the stories in my book about my college experience because those degrees were not for me.
Yeah, it's funny. I think a lot of us, regardless of the profession, romanticize the things we like about the profession. So I was actually pre-med
Hmm.
when I was in school, straight out of high school. And then I took organic chemistry and I was like, shit, this is dry, boring stuff.
Oh
Like I
my
could do it and I was good
goodness.
at it, but oh, good Lord,
Oh,
organic chemistry. Like it's a
it
study of carbon. Organic chemistry is all the things carbon can do, you know?
I couldn't even pay it past the basic like biochem class. It could have been the instructor, but he could not communicate what he wanted to teach you. And I mean, I would get to the test and I studied my butt off and I could not pass those tests to save my life. I had to drop the class. I'm like, I don't understand. Like I understand this concept, and yet none of these answers answer this concept. And so it could have been the teacher, but yeah, and organic chemistry, woof, yeah, not for me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So you go through, you make it through, you've tried various majors, but you wind
Mhm.
up with the one that works for you. You get out of college, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and hey, I got to go find a federal agency to work for because it's the fastest or easiest path,
Yeah.
most direct path to the FBI.
Mhm.
What made you decide on Secret Service, or did you just kind of spray and pray and try a bunch of them?
So when I was researching the FBI, I had to have real life experience. So meaning I needed to be in the military, I needed to be working for a local police department, something. And I applied to the Secret Service and the NSA 8 months before school ended for my senior year because that's how
Mm,
far in advance you had to do the application process and everything. So, but I want to go back really fast to my college degrees because I want people to understand like sometimes college just isn't for each person, right? Like I people are not cut out all the time to just study and get these majors. And that's why I do want to encourage people if you have a special trade you're interested in, like go for it. Do those other things. Like sometimes college isn't cut out for everybody. And specialized majors were not for me. And I want to encourage people that you can try multiple majors. My dad just helped me really set up a plan to where it didn't set me back at all because I set up all of my basic classes that you have to take to graduate. And I made sure I put those into every semester that I did school so that if I changed my major each semester, I wasn't going to be set back and I wouldn't have to go an extra year or 2 years or whatever. So if you can figure it out, it takes time. Don't be discouraged by that. You know, you get discouraged personally, but don't be discouraged that you can't figure out what your major is. Because it took me by the fifth major, I finally figured it out.
So two comments on that. I absolutely love your approach
Yeah.
on college. And look, I'm not anti-college. I hold a degree in finance and economics. So let me just say
Yep.
that up front. With that said, look, I'm 53, so I'm longer in the tooth than a lot of people. And when I was going to school, it was the path to professional world. It just was.
Yes, it was.
And there was companies that literally would not interview you or give you the time of day if you didn't have a college degree. Now, I never agreed with that. I never thought it was important. I think the School of Hard Knocks teaches you more than most college degrees. If
Mhm.
you're going to be an accountant, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer,
Yes.
totally got it. There's very
Hmm.
specialized things that you need to know in those professions and go for it. But I have three sons, none of whom have gone to college. And I could care less if they ever go to college. If they want to, good for them. That's awesome. But if like, it's funny because I lived when my sons were graduating from high school. I lived in like this really this just show you how much I love my wife, who I've been married to for 32 years. I lived in this really
It's
hoity-toity, they were
great.
like New York style apartments here in Cleveland, Ohio. Like they had valets that would put away your car. I had no fucking business. I hated it there. She loved it because she's like a princess. I treat her like a
Yeah.
princess and she is a princess, but I did not
Oh,
belong there. That is not my environment. I have
yeah.
done well in the world, but I am a blue collar guy for sure.
Hmm.
And so I would go to these, cocktail parties and all the bullshit you do when you're around really wealthy people. And they'd be like, where's your son going to school? And I'd be like, oh, he's not not going to college. He's not a college guy. And they would like clutch the pearls. They were so aghast
Yeah.
that my kids, like I had to talk my oldest son. He's like, I'm going to go to college. I'm like, time out. Like, dude, you barely made it through
Yeah.
high school. You made it through high school with my fucking foot up your ass.
Hmm.
And so your let
Yeah.
me just make
Yeah,
sure I
that's so
understand,
true.
let me make sure I understand your proposition here. You
Yep.
want to pay. Now you want to pay. That was free. Now you want to pay for 4 more years of this for stuff you don't like. Why are
Oh,
you doing that?
I
Because somebody
know.
else told
I
you you
know.
have to? Screw that. So I'm huge on trade schools. I know lots
Hmm.
of rich plumbers. I know lots of rich
Oh.
electricians. I know lots of rich
Hmm.
pipe fitters, welders. Insert trade here. There
Yes.
is no right or wrong path. So I couldn't agree more with what Lauren just said. And if you don't know what you're going to do when
Yeah.
you're 18, welcome to almost everybody else in the world. Nobody fucking knows what they want to do when they're 18. You're 18. You don't know anything.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
most of the people, if you look at their careers now, they don't even use their degree anyway in the career that they're in. So, I don't want to discourage people, but I do think it's important because, like, for instance, the FBI, Secret Service, you have to have a college degree to apply.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter really what your major is, but you have to have a college degree. It's a requirement. So, those are things that depending on what you want to do in your future, you might need a degree just because of that. So,
Yeah,
but
for
yeah, I
sure.
mean, I applied to the NSA and the Secret Service, and I did it about 8 months before school ended. It was a grueling, long process. And I think I
Hmm.
found out that I had made it through both of them, the application process. I'd made it through, I think about eight, no, I was probably 3 months out of school, maybe. And I had found that I'd made it through the process. So it takes almost a year to just even get through the application process to even get accepted into the Secret Service and the NSA for polygraph and all the background investigations and all the questions that they do before you even get into the 6 months of federal law enforcement training.
Wow.
It's a
So
long
what,
process.
what were you doing? Were you like working at a Starbucks waiting for them to come back to you?
No, I just went home. So I just went
Hmm.
home and I was waiting and figuring, I guess I'd have to figure it out if I didn't get into either of them. And I did get into both of them. So I immediately went in for the interviews where they do situational awareness questions. You do the polygraph. Secret Service has like a little sit down test where it's kind of a written examination with some multiple choice questions, and you have to pass that. Then you have to pass the situational awareness. Those are kind of like questions like, hey, what would you do if you were in a theater and there was a fire? How
Mm.
would you handle that? And so right there, you have to figure out how you'd answer that question and answer it. There's not a right or wrong answer, but you need to answer it correctly, or else they kind of are going to be like, you don't know how to handle stressful situations. Then the polygraph was, oh, deadly. I mean, that was probably one of the worst exams. I would never wish that on your worst enemy. They're absolutely horrible and so stressful, and yeah, they're the worst thing ever.
Was it
So
like a
it's not something that I would want to ever do again.
meet the
But
parents deal where the dad's asking, was the roast at dinner tonight too dry? Oh.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I wish it was that funny. I mean, I was funny because I'm sitting there thinking, I have to say yes and no, and I can't just say yes and no answers. I like to answer questions. And they're like, no, just say yes or no. We do not need this long drawn out answer. And I kind of was, oh, I can't talk like I normally do and answer questions and explain myself 100 times over.
Oh my
So
gosh.
oh, I know. So I did the polygraph and I passed it with the Secret Service. So I thought when I went into the NSA, I was going to pass it with flying colors. I was like, I've got this. I've got this in the bag. I know what questions they're going to ask. I haven't done anything in my life that would even remotely make me not get into the Secret Service or the NSA. And I got in there, and the instructor kind of pretty much was like grilling me about drugs. And I'm like, that's the one thing I know in my life I've stayed away from because I wanted to be in the federal law enforcement. So I didn't even tarnish my reputation with that because I knew that I wanted to be in the FBI. So I was like, well, why am I going to even dabble in drugs and even have to say that in the polygraph in the future, right?
Sure.
And I'm sitting here thinking, you're questioning my drug usage? So I start spouting off all these stupid, crazy things. I painted in the garage with the doors shut and got high on fumes of spray paint. I was, I took some Excedrin in college while I was drinking and just to see if I got drunker. And she's like, what are these answers? I'm asking about you. I was like, oh, but I know my friends in college sold illegal drugs that weren't theirs. It was their prescriptions that they would give out to people, but I never took them. And she's like, no, I need to know what you did. What did you do specifically? And I'm like, nothing. I did nothing. And that was not the right answer. So I kept coming up with, you know me, diary of the mouth, didn't
Mm.
shut up. And so I kept coming up with story after story after story. And she's like, we're done with this interview. And I did not make it through the NSA polygraph. I failed it because of me lying about drug usage when I've never done it.
That's wild. So it just so happens I personally have never ever been drunk in my life,
Mhm.
and I've
Yep.
never touched an illegal drug, not once, not ever.
That's
Um,
amazing.
and like it's not a I don't say that from a place of judgment. It's just statement of fact. It's just never looked
Yeah.
like I got two eyes and I trust what I see. And so
Yeah.
I always told people like because right, wrong, or indifferent, I was around a lot of people with older siblings, and I grew up in the
Hmm.
70s and 80s when there was a lot of drugs
Yes.
around, and like it just was what it was. And so like I got offered
Hmm.
heroin when I was 12. Like my
Wow.
freshman year of high school, the guy in front of me pulled out a compact
Yeah.
and cut up 3 lines of coke and blew
At
a rail.
12? I
Yeah,
don't
it's
even think I knew what
crazy.
that was at 12.
I found out because I didn't want it, but I
Yeah.
always looked and said, show me someone. This was my thought process. Show me someone who's not like a musician or an entertainer or does creative things for a living. Because I knew I wasn't going to do creative things for a living. I am a left brained, real direct, problem solving kind of
Definitely.
person. And I said, show
Hmm.
me one person whose life got better when they started doing coke or taking heroin or drinking a lot, and I'll try it. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. It just didn't the math didn't add up in my head.
It doesn't.
So that's wild that they would like I get it. I guess people try to lie, but isn't that why I'm hooked up to a polygraph? Like you could tell, can't you? Like,
So when I wrote my book and I started reflecting back on how did I fail a polygraph based based on something I know for a fact I never did. And I know for a fact I was clean and everything else. And I look back and I think because it's the National Security Agency, they're probably like, oh, if this girl ever gets interrogated when she's one of our agents, all she's going to do is spill all of our information and spill the beans because she can't shut up. So I
mm,
think I failed because of my mouth, honestly.
gotcha.
I think the answer that they wanted, I think the answer that they wanted was, I have never done drugs in my life. I don't know why you're questioning me. Case closed, done. I think that's what they wanted to hear. And I just kept spitting out all this stupidity. And that, I think that's what failed me is, hey, she's not cut out for this job because she can't stick to the facts of, the question and stop beating around the bush and
Mm,
all that kind of stuff, and I think that's why I failed. So again, my mouth got me in trouble.
there you go. Which is a perfect segue to your experience going through the 6 month training for the Secret Service. You've made it. Like, okay, I'm on my path. This is my dream since I was 10. I've
Mhm.
made it through this rigorous application process. I've gone through all the testing. I'm in. This is going to be awesome. And you show up and it's totally awesome and everything goes great, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it goes perfect. It was like glitter and rainbows. No, it was I knew it was going to be hard and it was going to be challenging because let me go back a little bit to my past. Even though my dad raised my sister and I like boys, we were tough and we did sports our whole lives. But I had never been in a fight. I had never done karate. I had never shot a. I had probably shot a gun maybe once before training. I had done all this stuff, but I had never really been in this kind of environment where I was going to have to fight and protect myself and all that. And that this was all brand new to me. And to be put in a situation where I am thrown to the wolves, pretty much, where I'm going to be I'm already in a challenging situation, and then to be put into a worse situation because I'm being discriminated against. That's where I really was having a hard time dealing with everything, and I had to really dig down deep and prove to myself that hey, you're stronger than this. Just because they think you can't do it based on your looks, that you got to prove to them otherwise. And so that's really what I had to do. I had to just kind of dig down deep and try to not be who I was. But the problem is I could never shake that because I got in trouble so many times because I question. So it's a military environment and you can't question anything. It's yes, sir, no, sir. It's pretty much always yes, sir, to be honest with
Mm,
you. You can't question what they're telling you to do. And I did because I'm the type of person that I've always been a free thinker, meaning you can tell me what you want me to do, but I'm gonna sit there and think, is that good for me? Does that make sense? Is that logical? If it's not any of those things, I'm gonna question it because I'm not just gonna willy-nilly do something that you tell me to do. I'm gonna look into it and figure out why I should do it and why it's gonna be good for me to do that. And so some of the stuff he was saying really didn't make sense because it was just a rule, right? But it didn't really make sense. And for one, I'll give you an example. I was wearing a watch when we were outside in a reenactment scenario. So these are considered real life reenactment scenarios. So we're not in the mat room anymore where you cannot wear jewelry, where we were told you cannot wear jewelry. We were in a real life scenario. So at the White House, obviously you can wear jewelry with your uniforms if you want to. But so this is a real life scenario. So he sees my watch sparkle in the sunshine while we're outside doing the scenario. And he starts screaming at me. He's like, "What is that on your wrist?" And I go, "Oh, a watch." He goes, "You're not allowed to wear those." And I said, "No, we're not allowed to wear jewelry in the mat room. This is a real life scenario. Are you telling me I can't wear jewelry at the White House?" Oh, that set him off. He was this close to my face. He was spitting in my face. He was screaming and yelling. He told me to get out of his face. He never wanted to see me again. I had to call my sergeant and go write a memo about why I was wrong and what I did and how I questioned his authority. And the people at the other scenario up a hill, probably half a mile away, heard him screaming. That's how loud he was screaming and spitting in my face. It was awful. That was the one time in training I actually cried because I was like, I think I pissed him off. Not sure, but I think I made him mad.
Yeah, I had
so I learned.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were on. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, no, you're fine. I learned a lot about myself then that I just needed to take orders if I was going to make it through training and keep my mouth shut. And I had to dig down deep and I still was not good at that. That still was not easy for me to do at all.
Yeah. That what was the in your training, what was the male to female ratio? That's a male dominated field generally. Is that true statement?
Oh, it is so male dominated. I don't think there were any women instructors. There was me and another girl in our whole training class. And I think we had about 25 in the training class and there was me and another girl. I mean, maybe 10% of the Secret Service are females. I know they've increased their numbers so over the years, but when I was in there, I mean, it had to have been maybe 10%. And a lot of the women couldn't pass the training. You had to do so many pull-ups, sit-ups. You had to run 2 miles, I think it was, in a certain amount of time. You had to shoot guns and qualify on your targets. There was just so much stuff that you could easily fail at any moment at any time during training.
Well, hey, for what it's worth, there's a lot of guys that can't do those things either. Like the physical tests make tons of sense.
Yeah.
To me, there's zero issue with them for me. However, I do dislike the narrative that, women can't do that job. No, there's some women that can't do that job, just like there's some men that can't do that job. You have to be in good physical condition because of the job, right? So other than when people think of the Secret Service, they think of protecting politicians, the president, most notably. What are the other functions that the Secret Service performs and works on all the time?
So they actually investigate counterfeit currency cases. So they look into that. They also protect the foreign mission branches up in DC, as well as the White House and the VP residency. And then they also follow other past presidents around, former presidents, spouses, children. They do all that kind of stuff as well. But those are agents. So I was uniform division since I had just come out of college and I was just, I was new. The only thing I could apply for was uniform division. I would have had to work probably 3 years at uniform division to reapply to be a Secret Service agent.
And what is that like? What do you do as a uniformed position? How does that work?
Yeah, so the uniformed positions, we were stationed at the White House or at the VP residency or at the foreign mission branches, and we protected those places. So we made sure people were logged into the Secret Service wave system. We made sure that they were, lifting gates up and protecting people on foot beats. We would also be there when they would have parties in the White House, and we'd make sure, we'd stand outside the Oval Office. There are positions all over the White House that we are patrolling on a daily basis. So we're basically a glorified police officer, is literally what it is, but we're at the White House.
Yeah, but it entails all the things a police officer would have to do. So it can be like
Yeah.
stand for hours. You'd have to chase a
Mhm.
suspect. You could find yourself
Yes.
needing to shoot someone that, like, when was it? I
Mhm.
don't know if you were around when the guy jumped the fence and got into the White
Mhm.
House. But
Yes. So they're fence jumpers all the time up there, that people are having to pull their guns on them and protecting the White House. There's tons of crazy stuff. People get pulled over for just running red lights and tickets and all that kind of stuff. And Secret Service can do that as long as it's right around the White House or the other branches as well. So
yeah,
yeah, we have, yeah, the rights of, a normal police officer.
yeah, got it. But that the guy that jumped the fence, I don't know if you've ever seen Joe Rogan does a bit on that whole scenario, and it's hilarious. He's the
I
the,
haven't
the
seen it.
funniest part to me was like he's like, I'm sure that guy thought he was going to be shot down, so he was probably running screaming towards the White House like, I can't believe I've made it this far.
Yeah. Well, what we've discovered, it's really sad because what we've discovered is most of the people after they get arrested from fence jumping, a lot of them, not all of them, have some sort of mental,
Yeah.
they're thinking they're protecting the president. They think they think they're doing something good, or maybe an alien is chasing them, or they all have, not, I can't say all, a lot of them have mental things that they are dealing with once they've been arrested and interviewed and all that kind of stuff, which is very unfortunate. But again, I mean, it's illegal and you've got to protect the president, while he's in the White House or not. So you have to protect the grounds.
Yeah, it's not someone that thinks it'd be a funny YouTube video. These are people that
Yeah.
got other things going on. Totally understand that. So,
Yeah.
um, at what point in your training did
Mhm.
you get hung the nickname Talk Back Barbie? And kudos to you. I love that you've embraced it and called your book the nickname that was meant as a derogatory term toward you. I fucking love that.
Mhm.
So
Well, and that honestly, you just hit the nail on the head. That is why I wrote the book. My husband questioned it. He was like, "Are you sure you want to write a book to tell people how stupid you are?" And I was like, yeah, actually, I do, because I want to use this as a learning experience. I want people to read this and say, she went through a lot. She made some stupid decisions. She did this kind of stuff. She talked back a lot, but she made it through and she proved herself. And that's the whole point of the nickname, right? Talk Back Barbie, I embraced the nickname. I didn't let a name define me. I defined the name.
mhm.
And for me, that's so powerful because I took something exactly what you said. It was derogatory. It was used to make fun of me. And I turned it into something powerful. And actually, it is actually a brand now. I've created Talkback Barbie LLC. It's my company that I do the books out of, and I do all of my 1099 type of work out of my company. And I really, my goal is to turn it into either a TV series or a movie. I have a TV series written up. I have movie scripts written up. I've been, really blowing up my YouTube by making different videos and trailers and sizzle reels and all that kind of stuff. But the nickname, I got it actually at the exact scenario I was telling you with the watch. So when he was screaming in my face, they came back and they go, "Can you never just shut up?" And they literally looked at me and they go, "Talk Back Barbie, you've got to just learn to shut your mouth and take orders." And that's when I got the name. And I got the name and I ran with it. And they called me that all through training. Even when I worked at the White House, it did not matter. That was my nickname and it was always going to be my nickname. And before I even started work at the White House, I went up to one of the guards and I was kind of asking her, where do I go for roll call tomorrow? And she goes, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm Lauren Lesby." And she looks at me and she goes, "Your Talk Back Barbie." They had already heard all of the stories at the White House from training about me, and I had not even started work there yet. Yeah. So to say I had a name for myself is a tiny understatement.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
How was what was, I guess let's stick with training for a little bit.
Yeah, of
Was there any point to
course.
training where you're like, wait, maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe I'm being stupid here for doing this. Maybe
Oh,
I should rethink this.
oh my gosh, so many times. There were, uh, I can't even count how many times uh, you just kind of you want to quit, but you can't, right? It's like you've dug in too deep, you've made it this far, you can't quit. But did I want to? So many times. I mean, when I'm getting slung over a 6'5" dude's shoulder and I'm getting slung to the ground and he's being gentle and I'm getting knocked out of air every single time that I'm getting
Mhm.
slammed to the ground and I'm having to do this over and over again. And then the only girl in my class just she was so competitive. She just destroyed me. So instead of taking the guys would take it easy on me to try to not hurt me, she would just destroy me. I mean, she would when we were doing handcuff techniques, she would slam that on my wrist bone over and over and over again till my wrists were cut and bleeding and bruised. Basically, kind of like just think of Indian burns all over both of your wrists for like hours while you're practicing these techniques. Because
Yep.
she wasn't gentle. She would rip my arm behind my wrist. And I mean, it was, you're gritting your teeth. And then to have the technician who hated me put me in so many unethical positions where everybody else is paired with, similar stature, similar weight. Because in training, you need to do the technique correct and
Yep.
you need to do it with the same weight and stature because you're learning how to do the technique
Right.
correctly. He would put me with the biggest guy in the class, 300 pounds, 6'5", and put me against him to wrestle, sling over the shoulder, all these different things that I had to do. And I'm sitting here thinking, that's not exactly fair. But I had to do it because if I didn't, he was going to basically like deduct it from my sheet and he would have the ability to kick me out. Because if you don't get all this stuff checked off on your sheet that you've accomplished and that you've done and you've passed, they can kick you out at any time during training.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the do you know what the percentages of people that start training that finish training?
I do not know the percentage actually. I know it is not, I mean, everyone in my class made it through except for one person. And unfortunately, I had him kicked out because he was my stalker.
Oh, geez.
So, um, he started creeping me out and stalking me during training, and it was just very uncomfortable. And he started saying a lot of things that were I don't know how he made it past the background check because the stuff he was
Right.
saying while we were eating lunch and dinner, yeah, talking about killing little animals and doing all this like very gross stuff, very serial killer-esque kind of
Yeah,
stories.
right.
It was very uncomfortable. Yeah, and he would just show up in my room unannounced all the time, just showing up at my door. Oh yeah. Then for my birthday was over training because it was over the summer. He bought me a ruby necklace and ruby earrings because it was my birthstone and he gave it to me and I said, pretty sure this is a very personalized, like very intimate gift. I don't
Mm.
think that this is a good idea for you to give this. Can you, and I'm so kind about it, but I was like, can you return this? And I mean, that did not make him too happy, but I was like, you can't give me something like that. I was engaged at the time. And I'm like, you can't give me something like this. We're not even dating. I mean, it was very awkward, very, very awkward. So after just documenting a lot of the stuff he was doing, he wasn't doing well in training anyway. He was not doing well on the physical side of things. He wasn't doing good in the shooting. So we documented me and a bunch of my teammates. We documented a bunch of the stuff he was doing, all the stories he was telling, and we took it to the Chiefs, and they kicked him out. So
Wow. So
yeah.
the training environment, it's a live-in environment. Are you like with these people 24/7 for 6 months? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so FLETC, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, where I had the first 3 months of training, we are actually on campus. It's kind of like a co-ed day down there in sweaty, sticky Glencoe, Georgia, and you do the training. Once you pass that, And if you pass that, you will go to JJRTC, which is in Beltsville, Maryland, for the actual Secret Service training 3 months portion of it. So you'll do you'll do testing, you'll do all that kind of stuff up there in Maryland. And then Maryland, you are living at home and coming to training every single day.
Mm.
Yeah. So
But
Letzi is the one that you stay on campus. That's how he was coming to my room every day, following me everywhere, trying to wrestle me in different, scenarios. And I'm like, ooh, like this is very uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah. Wow. That's pretty wild. Yeah. Dude, like, I don't know, dudes, I wish I could say something to defend our gender, but like, there's just a lot of scummy guys out there. They're just, sorry guys, quit acting like scummy pervs, and people quit calling you scummy pervs. Like that's how it works. I just don't think yeah, I don't think the social norms are that hard to figure out, like, I don't know. It's like the Me Too. It's like the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement started off, and I'm like, holy crap. I cannot believe these people out there doing these things. And then it kind of ran its course. And towards the end, it was just women talking about bad dates. And I'm like, hey, save it, lady. You didn't have like, I heard what happened to this woman, and I had all sorts of empathy for her, but you just had a bad date. Get up and leave. Call an Uber. It's not that hard.
Right. Yes. Like, don't minimize something that's actually a very serious
Yes.
deal, right?
Very real.
And it was just a bad date. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about something super, super serious, and then you had a bad date. Well, don't we all? I mean, come on. I totally agree with you. And that's why I'm a Southern girl, right? Like, I mean, I'm all about being kind and trying to be nice on the surface, but man, if you piss me off, I can be really mean, and I can bring out that Southern meanness. But I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I couldn't, because it just kept at one thing after another, and it was just getting to the point where it was just so creepy that I couldn't. I was like, yeah, this is not. We got to do something about this. So totally, yeah. It was very weird.
Totally got it. What of the training stuff, like the exercises and things that you had to learn, what was your favorite thing that you trained on and or learned during that 6-month period?
At the time, it was shooting guns, because I was really bad at it, actually. And the instructor was like, hey, you just need to strengthen your wrists. So I had to do strengthening my wrist exercises. And once I started doing that, I started shooting really well. And that was just really fun to learn, because not only are you shooting over and over again, you just get so good at it. You're pulling it out of the holster. You're shooting all different types of guns too. You're shooting shotguns, MP5s, and your handgun. So, but we also learned how to take them all apart, clean them, and put them back together. And that was really, really cool. I don't remember how to do any of that now, and I can probably barely shoot now because I haven't shot in 20 years. But when I was going through training, to see myself go from being able to not hit the target at all to getting bullseyes, you feel like a pretty big badass, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I went from like doing this, not knowing how to do anything, to being able to hit this bullseye, to taking a gun apart and putting it back together in like 20 seconds. It was empowering. It was really, really cool. I loved it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. What was your least favorite exercise? Forget the mean technician and the discrimination and all the other shit that happened, but like the exercises themselves. What did you like the least that you experienced there, that you learned?
So we have to get sprayed in the face with mace. Yep. They line you up and they make you experience what you're going to do to the criminals. So that was terrible. But what happened was, one of the guys in our class was like, it didn't affect him very much. And he goes, oh, that wasn't that bad. And they made us do it again. We had to get sprayed in the face twice. But then the other thing that was really, really bad and claustrophobic, and probably the scariest thing that we did during training, at least for me, other people might have different ideas and different, was they do a plane crash simulation. So they put you in this big crate. It's like almost like a little mini jail cell. They put you in a seat. They seat belt you in. They drop the cage into the deep end of the pool. When it hits the bottom of the pool, like, you can start getting out, and you have to unbuckle your seatbelt, find there's one or two exits that you have to find in the bubbles, in the chaos, while holding your breath. And you have to find that exit and get to the top of the water to like clear the scenario. And that was really, it was terrifying. Like and I'm a good swimmer. I can hold my breath. I can do all that kind of stuff. But being in that situation was probably one of the scariest things I personally did during training.
Wow, that's why. I mean, it makes sense when you think
Yeah.
about it. But were
Mhm.
you in there by yourself? Was it multiple people in this
Mhm.
thing?
One at a time. So everybody in the class had to do it, and you have to do it one at a time. So they drop you in individually, and you have to do that. Now, a couple of guys in our class couldn't swim. And I'm like, okay, how are you passing training if you can't swim? Like they're
Yeah.
like doggy paddling. I don't even know. Honestly, I look back and I can't even remember how they truly passed training because they couldn't. They were always sitting on the edge, or because they weren't treading water. Or they were like they couldn't hold their breath and make it the whole lane. And I'm like, how did they pass you? I don't understand. I guess that didn't matter. I don't know, but it was very scary.
Yeah, that sounds like it for sure. Yeah, so it's funny the swimming part. So I was a good athlete growing up,
Mhm.
but I'm not a good swimmer, and I've never been a good swimmer. My mom was deathly afraid of the water, and so her solution was not to teach her kids how to swim. Her solution was
Yeah.
to keep us away from the water. So I was dating my wife. And so I went through college on a baseball scholarship. And that's when I met my wife we didn't go to
It's
school together, but
awesome.
it was that time. And so she saw me do that. And then we would go somewhere and we'd play basketball. I was good at that and blah, blah, blah. And so we were going to go swimming one time. And I said, I got to warn you, I'm not a good swimmer. And she was like, okay. She thought like I was being, self-deprecating. No, I'm really not a good
Yeah.
swimmer. So I jumped in the pool and she literally started laughing at me. I'm like, what are you laughing about? And she said, I thought you said you weren't a good swimmer. And I said, I'm not. She said, you can't swim. That's not the same thing. I said, bullshit. I know how to do the side stroke. That'll keep me alive. If I go down in the middle of the ocean, I'm going to side stroke to Hawaii, baby.
Oh
Everyone else is
my
going to die
gosh.
doing the
Were you
crawl
dog
stroke.
paddling? Were you
No, I'm
dog
terrible at
paddling?
it. No,
Oh,
I'm
so you were
terrible
just
at it.
doing the side stroke like this, like just to
That's all
stay
I got.
afloat?
That's all I got. Yep.
That is hilarious. Oh, I love that. She's like, yeah, you just can't swim, like is really what it is.
Yeah,
No, I
like
was
when
on
you,
swim team. Yeah. So I knew all the
she was
strokes.
too. So was
Yeah.
she. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and I've taught my kids how to swim. My daughter's 3, my son's 12. He learned how to swim by 2. She can swim already at 3. It's been a big thing for me to teach my kids because I want to feel comfortable around the pool with them. And so for me, they can't do 100% of the strokes, but they can just stay afloat, and that's what I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and like
So
from a
that's important
parenting
to me.
perspective, that makes way more sense than the approach my mom took was let's just pretend water doesn't exist and we'll go nowhere near it. Oh, sounds good.
I know. So
By the
what
way, my
did
dad
you not
loved
go
to
to swim
fish.
parties?
Nope.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I mean, if my kid didn't know how to swim, there's no way I'd send him to a swim party.
Nope. Didn't go to
He,
those.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
yeah. That if there's one thing that scares me the most, it's having kids who don't know how to swim because I'm always terrified. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not watching that kid on my watch. I'm not putting that on my tab, right? This kid like drowns on. No, I'm always like, no, no, no. My kids can swim. You're good.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So, when you finished at training, what was like, how did it progress from there for you? What did you do after you got out of training?
So we graduated training and we went straight to where we were stationed. So some of us were at the VP residence, some of us at the foreign mission branches, and I was at the White House. So I was sent to the White House, and you go straight, once you pass training and you graduate, you go straight to your post and you go to your shift work. And that's what we did. So it's all shift work. So you work on like post rotations at the White House. And that's where I kind of was like, oh my gosh, this is so boring. I'm
Mm,
a very hyperactive. I can't sit still. Okay. And so I'm stuck in this box for like 40-minute to hour rotations. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my mind. So I got in trouble all the time because I'd be doing Sudoku puzzles or reading or, not paying attention to the guard sitting at the gate needing to come in. And I mean, because you're just you're kind of bored. And so that's why a lot of the officers will start playing with their like weapons, and they shoot themselves a lot on accident.
You gotta be kidding me.
No, negligent discharges because they're bored. So they do, they start like fooling around doing stupid things, and they maybe drop the weapon, they pull the trigger too hard. I don't know how it happens because it never happened to me, but it's happened multiple times where people have shot themselves or have shot the booth, and of course they're bulletproof booths, so you have all these bullet holes that are ricocheting off, yeah, because they shot their guns in there from
These are
boredom.
clearly men. These have to be men that are doing these things. Yes.
I mean, I think the stories are all men. I mean, we'll say they are, but
That sounds very male. That sounds like a very
yeah,
male.
I know,
Someone's
right?
doing like a quick draw because they're bored and they, for some reason,
Mhm.
put their finger up. Which, by the way, for anyone that's ever handled a gun, you never put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot it, and you
Right,
learn that when you're trained on guns. But well,
exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the difference, I think, in my book as opposed to anything else that's out there. All the Secret Service books that are out there are all about the serious stories, how they protected the president or the vice president, and all these like serious things that happen. And mine is the complete side of the Secret Service nobody knew existed. Nobody, no, everyone, thinks it's fake. And don't get me wrong, some of the stories in the book are fake. It is based on true stories, but for the most part, I had a lot of fun creating this and writing about it and just laughing at my experience and what has happened at the White House and how one of the most serious careers out there, which is protecting the president of the United States,
mm,
is actually kind of a shit show.
but but the names have been changed to protect both the guilty and the innocent, right?
100%. There's no real names used in here. Everything is unclassified. Everything is funny. Everything is completely safe, and you will not get in trouble or anything like that. But it's just to show the side where that nobody sees, and I just think that that's something that is really fun that I get to share with people that nobody else has been able to experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a unique experience, and there's excuse me, so few people that go through
Mhm.
it. It's very interesting because, like I said, I went through college on a baseball scholarship, and so I had it.
That's
I
awesome.
I played right up until my wife and I got married, and I was talking to the Reds, the Cubs, and the Padres about a free agent
Mhm.
deal. That because I was better than most people that walk the face of the earth at baseball, but as a professional baseball player, I would have been
Wow.
extremely average, extremely average.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I loved it. Like if I was single, you would have had to drag me out of the clubhouse and I would have been holding on to the door trying to stay in
That's,
it because I loved everything about it. But I met my wife and we were ready to get married and start a family and
yeah.
there was no money unless you made it. And making it was
Yep.
tough. It was like what you're talking about. And so I walked. But people hear that and they think, "Oh, that must have been so cool." And look, I loved everything about it, but it wasn't all cool. Like everyone
Mm-mm.
thinks it's cool. It wasn't all that cool at 6 in the morning, 6 days a week in the weight room. It wasn't all that
Yep.
cool when you're schlepping on a bus through the middle of fucking nowhere, California, trying to get to a game to play at some shitty place, and they're throwing
Yep.
Taco Bell at you through the windows of the bus so you can get something to eat. Like it's
Yep.
not things are not all rainbows and unicorns, but when you have
Nope.
those experiences that most other people don't have, there's value in being able to share those
Mhm.
experiences. So I think it's really cool what you did with your book.
No, you hit it right on the head again. You are like you're right on top of this. Like your experience was awesome and you had a chance, but you had to decide as well. And actually I did the exact same thing. I never applied to go into the FBI, which was my dream, because I got married at a young age and I was still in the Secret Service when I got married. And I realized the shift work, not seeing my family on holidays, being canceling my days off, working days, continuous days, like you could work 30 days without a break, without a weekend. You understand. And crazy shift work hours. It was just unhealthy. It was not good for me. And I chose to not go into the FBI because I was married and I knew that if I wanted to have children and stuff one day, that lifestyle was not going to be conducive to me traveling and moving around every 3 years. And so I chose my family over a career with the FBI. And so I
Mm.
exactly the same thing that you did. You have to make those tough decisions. And I would never trade it for the world. Everyone's like, well, would you go back and do this again? And I said, yeah, I would go back and go through the Secret Service, go through everything I went through again, because I have become a completely different person than I was when I entered in Secret Service training.
Mm.
I was a naive. I went to a Christian school my whole life. I did go to a big public college because I wanted to get out of that, small school feel, hometown Georgia feel. I went to a public college, but I still was a very naive Southern girl. And you throw me into the Secret Service training, and I learned so much about myself that I had to dig down deeper than I ever even knew was possible. I didn't even know I had that kind of strength inside of me until I was put in a situation where I had to prove it. And I think that's kind of the message for most people. Until we're put in a situation, we're really not going to know how we can handle it until we get there. How strong really are you? How much can you truly handle? And a lot of people don't think we can handle as much as we don't give ourselves the benefit of the doubt, right? We're like, oh, we can't handle that. But in reality, we can handle a lot more than we think we can. At the time, you don't think you can handle this, but when you get put in that situation, you can handle a lot more than you anticipate.
Totally agree with you. I think that's so well said. And it's one of the things we try to challenge people on the podcast is
Hmm.
if you feel strongly about something, you got to find something that you're passionate about, and you got to find something that's important to
Yeah.
you, and you want to make that the center of your life, and you want to pursue it with everything that you've got. And we're agnostic on what it is. So
Hmm.
if you want to be like whatever, a ballerina,
Yeah.
a plumber, a lawyer, a doctor, a whatever, do that. But you should be getting after that with everything that you got. And I love that that's the
Agreed.
story that your book talks about, and your story of making
Hmm.
it through the Secret Service. But then you had let's call it foresight, emotional intelligence, maturity to recognize, you know what? I've wanted this my whole life. I'm right at the cusp of it, but I've got a better deal over here. I'm married. I could start a family, and this is a better path for me. So I'm going to take the path that makes the most sense to
Yeah.
me at this point. And I think there's a valuable lesson there for people simply
Yeah.
because so in economics, to boil it down to economics term, it's called the sunk cost fallacy. And everybody's done this, right? So you invest, let's just say you invest whatever, 20 grand in a stock and or a business, and it's not going well. And you think, well, fuck, if I could just stay in it till I get my 20 grand back. I've already got 20 grand into it. I got to see it through. At some point, that 20 grand becomes not worth it. And it's time to cut
Right.
your losses, learn your
Hmm.
lessons, and move on. Now, in your situation, there's no losses. You didn't lose anything. You gained
Right.
valuable experience from it. But
Yep.
simply because you said at 10, this is what I want to do. Now you're whatever, 24, 25, and uh
42.
no, I know you're 42 now, but at the time
Oh,
you
I
made
was
the
like,
decision, you know?
I'm not 20.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. And yeah, like I'm super married. There's no pickup lines on Salty Ginger Talk. So for what it's worth, I only disappoint one woman at a time. And that happens to be Mrs. Canfield at this point. I'm riding the gravy train until she'll leave sometime. I'm riding the gravy train until she wises up and hits the bricks.
That
But
is so funny.
you get to a point in your life where you say, hey, this is a better option for me, even though I've done all this work and positioned myself to
Yeah.
where I'm at right now. And I love that you had the emotional intelligence and the foresight to say, hey, good deal. And, here you are, you got a great family, you got a great husband,
Yeah.
you'll be able to talk about these experiences, share them with the world. You've positioned yourself so well. One thing I will note, and I try to call these commonalities out to our audience because we have all sorts of cool people on the podcast that have all these great experiences. What's the one thing we talk about that they all have in common? They take action. They don't fucking sit in their living room and hope something happens. They go out and make it happen. Might lead them to a different place. I'll guarantee you, Lauren's already told us she didn't anticipate being sitting here at her age writing a book and talking about stuff. She was going to be an FBI agent. She's not an FBI agent. In fact, she never became an FBI agent.
That's
And
right.
she didn't fail in any way, shape, or form. She has all these awesome experiences, but the only way she found them was going out and taking action. Think about all the action she took to get to where
Mhm.
she's at in her life right now. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about that approach. I'm certain that that's something that you try to instill in your kids too.
Definitely. It's the not give up mentality and something, and I'm still striving, right? Like my goal is to, I wrote this book, which I never thought I was ever going to be able to write a book. My dad told me for 5 years before I even wrote the book, I needed to do this. I was terrified. I never thought I could do it, but I did it. Then, and I'm doing all these podcasts and stuff now. I've gone and talked to book clubs about my book. It's just been really fun. I've done book signings at different bookstores, but it's not just about my book. It's about what you're talking about, the meat behind it. It's about diving in deep and figuring out who you are as a person, but just working hard at something and proving yourself. Because I don't like the fact that, people judge a book by its cover. And I've always had that happen to me ever since I was in school, college. I would go walk into a room, and for some reason, either people thought I was snobby or bitchy or whatever. And I was like, you're making that assumption and you don't even know who I am. You haven't even
Mm.
spoken to me. You're basing that on how I look. And I've always proven people wrong, because for me, I'm like, no, you need to get to know me. And then you're not going to be able to say that. I will promise you that. And that's what the book is about. And so one of the big things I'm doing right now is, obviously, I talked about it earlier. I'm trying really hard to turn this into either a TV series or a movie. And this is no easy feat, y'all. I'm telling you, I have been networking with some people that are in California. I have been networking. I've interviewed with people where it's kind of sketchy, where they're like, oh, pay me $5,000 a month and I will hopefully promote your idea to all these people that I know. And I'm like, pretty sure no. But I know this is possibly a 10-year dream. Like, this is not going to happen tomorrow. This is not going to happen in probably a year or two. It's going to happen over a lot of time, and it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of networking. Basically, when I meet new people all the time, I'm bringing this up, trying to network. I'm doing all these podcasts to try to just promote my idea and get it into somebody's hands who is going to be passionate about it as much as I am. But one day it is going to happen. And it might not be called Talk Back Barbie. One of the screenplays I wrote was Talk Back Belle, because I started researching it, and Barbie I might get a lawsuit from Mattel. So
Mm.
I don't know. Like, it's not a guarantee I would, but it's possible. And so I'm like, I don't even want to deal with, having to go up against Mattel. I mean, that's a
Sure.
lose-lose situation right there, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I've created like a whole kind of new genre idea. But again, it's going back to the same fact of what you were talking about. It's about not giving up. It's about not sitting on your butt waiting for something to come to you. It's about you being on fire and you going and getting what you want. And I'm not saying it's always going to happen. And this movie might not even happen, but I'm going to do everything in my power to hopefully make it happen. And it's not going to be an easy feat. And I'm being very honest about that. So, but yeah, it's about just being persistent and going after what you want.
Oh, I love that. And look, I talk about this a lot on the podcast. I'm sure people get tired of hearing it. However, it's super important, so I talk about it a lot. There's been study after study after study done where people interview folks that provide palliative care to people. So these are people that are around people when they're in their last moments of life, and they know they're in their last moments of life. The end
Right,
is
right.
imminent for them, and they talk about their life and what they regret. And they never, and I don't make global statements very often, but I make this one all the time. They never talk about things they did that they regret. They talk about regretting not doing things. And you don't want to be
That's
on your
right.
deathbed thinking, what if I had just whatever, asked the girl out, applied for the job, took the course, made the phone
Mhm.
call, switched jobs, whatever it is. You don't want to be sitting there 20, 30 years from now thinking, fuck, it's over and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't try. Like not
What's the
trying.
worst that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
what's the worst that can happen? They say no, and then you go to the next person, and then you go to the next person, and then you do it again, and you do it again. And does it get discouraging? Oh my gosh, of course it does. Do I have days where I'm like, oh, this is never going to happen? I'm so tired of making videos. So tired of editing. I'm so tired of creating new ideas and sizzle reels and new videos and new AI characters. And because I'm putting these videos together by myself, and I'm
Yeah.
creating everything with using AI characters and videos and all this kind of stuff. And I've had to self-teach myself everything. I've had to I'm self-taught how to edit and do videos. I'm self-taught on how to do the AI stuff. I mean, and how did I do that? I researched and I Googled and I tried to figure it out because I said, I'm not paying people thousands of dollars to do something that I know could they do it better? Well, sure, they have the equipment to do it better, but I'm gonna, I would love to learn another skill set too. It's like you're constantly growing and learning, and that's what it's about. It's about just learning something new each and every day. And I think that's something that's kind of cool with this movie concept is that I'm teaching myself editing on videos, and I'm teaching myself about AI, and I'm writing. You know, I wrote a book, which a screenplay is 100% polar opposite of a book. But I'm teaching myself, yeah, but I'm teaching myself how to do that. And I wrote episodes in case it goes that way instead of a movie, but I'm self-taught. And I think that's something else that your viewers and listeners could really learn about is that you're going to be the most valuable in life when you are constantly learning something new, right? Like you, if you can always present a new skill set to something, you're going to be valuable to somebody all the time. And I think that's something that is really encouraging to others, you know, to think, hey, if I just keep learning, if I keep growing, if I keep, then, you know, this stuff will come into fruition. It might not be exactly your idea, your plan, but something's going to happen from it.
Totally. And the thing I always say, I couldn't have said anything better, so I'm not going to try. I love it.
No.
But I will say this, it's how you learn to walk. It's how you learn to speak.
Yeah.
It's how you learn to drive. It's how you learn to do whatever job that you do now.
Yeah.
It's how you learn to manage relationships is you did the repetitions. And there's no shortcut. There's no substitute. People want the magic bullet, the magic formula. The magic formula is blood, sweat, and tears. That's the magic formula. There's no substitute for it. And you should be pursuing whatever it is that's important to you. Like
that's right.
Oxygen and you're underwater. That's the way I explain it. That's the kind of intensity that you want to have if you want to be successful. And if you don't, like, you know, everybody has to suffer. I say you should choose how to suffer. So if you don't want to be, let's say, overweight, you're going to suffer by passing on the cake that's being served tonight, or you're going to suffer on stopping and picking up McDonald's on your way home. But you're going to get the benefit of health and energy and vitality down the road. So you've got to learn to embrace delayed gratification. Because like all the stuff Lauren has talked about now, guess how much she's getting compensated for all that? Oh, nothing. Let me answer the question for you. Nobody is paying her anything to learn how to make AI videos or edit YouTube videos or make reels or those things, because nobody paid me either when I learned how to do it. And by the way, I sell groceries for a living. That's what I've done my whole life. So I do the podcast because I love doing the podcast. I get to meet super interesting people and I get to learn so much. And not for nothing, but I've been around for 53 years. So I've picked up a thing or two in my 53 years. And I want to provide a platform for people that are still working their way through it to understand those things. What better way to do that than have awesome people like Lauren on and all the rest of our guests that share all their experiences and how they navigated their way through life. You just get to hear from successful person after successful person after successful person. And too many people attach a monetary value to the word successful. And that's great. If you're financially successful, awesome. I'm very happy for you. That's not what successful means in every instance, though. Like, you got to have enough money to pay the light bill and put food on the table. Got it. But if you don't have great relationships in your life, if you don't have great experiences in your life, if you don't have things that mean more to you than you do to yourself, you're missing out. You're doing it wrong. You got to figure that part out if you want to live a meaningful life. So, and that's what I love.
No, you're exactly.
What I love about your decision.
Finding things that you love. Finding things that I love to read. There's tons of things I do. I go to the gym every single morning. That is like my commitment to myself. I take my daughter. There's a daycare there. You know, just being, I'm you know, hanging out with my family. I do tennis. All these things are just things that it gets you out there. It gets you experiencing life. It gets you around people, relationships, like what you were just talking about. And for me, that's the meaning of life, is having fun and enjoying every moment. Now, not every moment is going to be fun, and not every moment is going to be enjoyable, and not every moment is going to be perfect. And believe me, we are going to be down, we are going to be discouraged. We're probably going to hear no more than we like. But at the same time, you have to get up that next morning and you have to keep going. And if you don't, you're just going to get into like deep despair, and you're not going to make it at all, And it's like it's one of those things, like we're all going to experience downsides to everything, to anything in life. But you just got to keep going. I mean, I tore my hamstring and I was out for a year in tennis, and I was
Ooh,
I was
yeah.
devastated because tennis was my livelihood, and that's my exercise, and that's my friend time. And it was really discouraging, and I wasn't able to work out. And so for me, that was really mentally draining and discouraging. But I kept at it. I went to the chiropractor and I kept getting stronger, and I started, lifting weights again and doing stuff, but it was a slow progression. Getting back to that spot was very slow. But you can't be so hard on yourself. You've got to do it, you take it day by day. I talked to this girl the other day at the gym, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I just want to come in here and and look like all these girls in here." And I looked at her, I said, "But you're here today." She goes, "This is only day 3. This is only day 3." She was working out with her husband. She's 41, my age, basically. She had just had twins. So she was being really hard on herself. And I was like, this is your 3rd day here. I go, every day, your goal is to just get here to the gym. That's it. Your goal is to get here to the gym. If that means you go sit in the sauna today because you're tired from those twins keeping you up all night, then you go sit in the sauna. If this means you do 5 different workouts, or you just walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes because that's all you can do, then that's what you do. But it's a slow progression until it turns into a habit. And I think that's what people don't understand, is that, oh, there's no point in me going to the gym today because I'm not going to get in a good workout because I stayed up late last night with my friends, and there's just no point. Well, that's not true. There's a total point. You can go and detox in the sauna, you can go walk on the treadmill, you can go, maybe you just meet somebody amazing that day in the gym that is a great network for you. You have making that initial move, just getting that jump start, right? That's all. Just that little jump start to turning something into a habit. And I think then it changes everything, and it changes your trajectory in life.
Yeah. And my argument is that's why the younger generations are depressed and have anxiety, is because they have kind of intentionally decided to not care about things at the level they should care about them. There is value in hard work. There is value in committing to a job, even if it seems like to you it's a menial job that has no purpose. There's a value in working hard and earning your way through the world and developing skills. And, I started in the grocery industry at the end of a check stand, bagging people's groceries and grabbing carts out of the parking lot. And I run our company. I'm the CEO of our company now. And it was a 30+ year progression. And I didn't know all those times after I'd locked up the store and it was 3:30 in the morning and the only people out on the road were me, 3 drunk guys, and the cops. And the cops had to learn I wasn't one of the drunk guys because I don't drink. But like, I didn't know I was building all these skills, that I was learning the business from the ground up at that point. And so now I go into a store and I'll have a store manager say, "Well, I can't do X, Y, or Z." I'm like, "Bullshit. I was a store manager. I know how to do it. Let me show you." Like, I'll still jump into a check stand and bag or check out groceries because it lets me talk to customers, and the customers literally keep us in business. If I know what they want, they know what they think, I can keep them happy. I can get more of them in there and our business grows. Plus, it gives me total street credibility with our people because they're like, "Holy shit, Joe really does know how to check, doesn't he?" I jumped into a check stand one time and someone came up with some bananas and the cashier goes, "The code for bananas." And I'm like, "Who the fuck do you think you're talking to?" Like, the code for bananas. The code for bananas is 4011, just like it was 30 years ago when I did your job. 4011.
You're like, "I created that code."
Exactly. I don't need you to give me the code. I was a checker. I know how this works.
Exactly.
But my long-winded diatribe there is commit, do the work, fall in love with the work, and it will lead you such good places. You don't know what those places are, but I know it's not going to be the couch in your living room binging Netflix, which is what you're doing now, and it's why you're unhappy. It's literally why you're unhappy.
Well, when you start comparing your lives to TV shows that are fake, and Facebook, which is fake as well, you you will get very discouraged. You can't compare yourself to other people. It's physically impossible. And that's why I got so mad at the Secret Service that they were discriminating against me because of the way I looked when I'm
Yeah.
sitting here thinking, but you don't know what I'm capable of. You're discriminating against me based on my looks, but because I come in with pink Vera Bradley bags and I wear, jean mini skirts and I love makeup when I'm out here in the mat room, you judge me and think that I can't be what you think I can't be. But then you discover that, hey, somebody who doesn't look the part actually can do things that you don't think they can do. That's why you can't judge a book by its cover. You don't know what that person's capable of. And I think that, like what you did, I think that's incredible. You are a CEO and yet you go back to the cash register, you're helping bag groceries, you're helping do all this stuff. Do you know how many CEOs think that that's beneath them? Do you know how many people think that they're too good to go do that again because that's where they started? That's the wrong mindset. You can't have that mindset because you've got to go exactly why. You've got to learn what the customers need, what the customers want. You're the person who's going to make those decisions. And if you're just behind a desk being the CEO, sometimes you're not going to be able to fix all the problems that need to be fixed because you haven't actually experienced them. So I think that's actually incredible what you did because not many CEOs would do that and put themselves back in a menial position, which I do not mean that discriminatory at all. But I'm saying in what someone would think as that. But in reality, that's actually a super, super important position. And that's what people don't understand is that sometimes those quote unquote low jobs are actually really, really important. And there's no job that's too low. It's just not. That's why when I go to parties and stuff and it's like, someone's serving you the food or they're walking around, picking up trash or maybe the maids are cleaning the gym or something, the cleaners are cleaning the gyms. I make it a point to say hi and stuff to them because their job is no lesser than my job. Okay. They are working hard and they're doing a good job. And it's like, I think that everybody needs to be respected for everything that they're doing. Because if you're working hard and you're making ends meet and you're providing for your family, you know what? You're doing an awesome job.
For sure. Yeah. And look, in our business, cashier is, in my opinion, by far the most important job in our company because they're the face of our company to our customer.
Mm-hmm.
They're the person that actually interacts with our customer. Do you think our customers give a shit who I am or what I think? I guarantee you they don't. I know they don't, nor should they. But if you go to the store because whatever Gladys or Steve or whoever the cashier is a person that knows you and knows that you're there 3 times a week and knows who your kids are and knows their names, that matters. And it matters a lot.
It does. It matters big time.
Yep.
I know. And putting a name with a face, I mean, how it makes you want to come back to that store 100 times over because they know you. And I think that's incredible. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. And by the way, people hate grocery shopping because they can't get out of it. Like it's like laundry. Grocery shopping's like laundry. You hate it because you can't not do it. That's why people hate it so much.
I do. I hate grocery shopping.
Everybody does. Yeah, everybody does. Yeah, totally. Everybody does. That's just the way it is. But it's a great business because everybody's got to eat every day. It's a great business to be in, right?
It is.
Because nobody grows their own food anymore.
No.
So one of the things I do, Lauren, so I ask a lot of questions. Obviously, you can tell we cover a lot of territory. You never know where the conversation is going to go on our podcast. But I don't want to miss anything important because I didn't ask a good question or I didn't cover a topic. So I always ask our guests, is there anything I haven't asked you yet that you think is important to talk about? Or is there a topic that we haven't covered yet that you feel strongly about that you want to talk about while we're in front of the audience?
No, I mean, I think we covered so much about the book because you understood it. You understood what I'm communicating, what my story means to my readers and your viewers. You understand that, I took a nickname, Talk Back Barbie, that was supposed to be demeaning, and I turned it into a brand. And I'm not using that as a negative thing. And I want everybody to think about that in the sense of turning things that you think so negatively into something positive. And I think if we can change the mindset, especially of the youth nowadays, if we can change that mindset of don't take that as a negative, turn it into a positive. Like during training, I was literally being discriminated against. Like there is no if, ands, buts about it. I was being discriminated against, and I could have cried and I could have pouted and I could have turned my back and said, I'm not doing this. I'm going to report him because, he's discriminating against me. But instead, I looked at it and I said, no, I'm going to be bigger. I'm going to be better, and I'm going to be stronger, and I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to prove to him that what he's saying about me and thinking about me is not true. And I think more people need to think like that. When I was in high school, there was a guy, and he thought that if he called me a pig, he thought that that would be an insult. Well, what he didn't realize is that pigs are like one of my most favorite animals. And I want a pet pig. I've wanted one for years. I've never had a pet pig. I want one, but I keep adopting dogs because there are so many dogs that need homes. So my passion is for dogs. But I turned around to him and I said, thank you so much for calling me a pig. I go, those are my most favorite animals. He looked at me like I was the stupidest person alive, and he didn't know how to respond to that. And you know what? He never called me a pig again. And it wasn't even that I was overweight in high school, nothing like that. He was just doing it to be demeaning. It wasn't because I had a pig nose. It wasn't because I was wearing a pig colors. He was just doing it to be demeaning and kind of a bully. But he shut right up. He never did it again. And that's what I'm saying is, like, don't look at everything so negatively. Turn everything into something positive, because I will swear to you, there's something positive that comes out of everything. Even if it's some of the worst tragedy that's happened, something positive will come out of that. I promise you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that message. And, we talk about it on the podcast almost always when someone is coming after you or attacking you or saying things about you. It's way more of a reflection on them, and that they have something in their life, something they're insecure about, something they don't like about themselves, and they're manifesting that in that behavior towards you. And you don't have control over that. What you do have control over, like Lauren just talked about, is your reaction to it. And if you can always take the high road, if you can always, I use a lot of baseball analogies because they make sense to me, because it's what I did my whole life. And I always tell people,
I love
I
baseball.
was good. Yeah. I was a good hitter because I didn't swing at pitches in the dirt. If you were going to throw me pitches in the dirt, I would take the walk and go to first base, because I can't hit pitches in the dirt. I can hit fastballs. When you throw me a fastball, I'm going to put a good swing on it. Sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't. But I'm not going to swing at pitch. I'm going to get myself out. Yep. That's what you do when you react to those situations. What they want is a reaction from you. Don't give it to them. Like, literally don't give it to them, and they will stop and they will go away. And in fact, like Lauren talked about, you can turn the tables on them. It's so shocking to people when you don't react. I always say that if people can control you with words, then anyone can control you. Is that what you want? Do you want to give control of your life over to people simply because they said mean things to you? Like, I don't know. Like when I was playing, I was a closer for 2 years when I played baseball. And so I'd be warming up, and the bullpen was always by the stands, and there would be people standing over the stands 4 feet from you, screaming epithets at you. I had people dump things on me, drinks and snow cones and beers. And I had people throw batteries and coins at me. Like, you have to learn to block that out and focus on the job at hand, which is going in and getting the next 3 guys out. And that same thing applies to life. And that's exactly how Lauren made it through training for the Secret Service. That's exactly how you can make it through whatever you're going through, is learn to think about it differently. Lauren's advice there and her words were so on point. It's such great advice. And I just wanted to back it up as strongly as I could, because if you want to be successful, Lauren just gave you the blueprint for how to do it. Like, it's literally, that's the blueprint. That's the blueprint to success, Yeah.
And I'm not there yet. I'm not successful yet because I haven't fulfilled my dream. But one day, you quote me here right now. Maybe when I'm 80 on my deathbed, but it's going to happen.
Right. Well, the reality is we never finish, right? We should always be trying to get better. And like you talked about, don't compare yourself to other people. The only comparison you should make is compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Try to get a little bit better today. And then tomorrow, try to be a little bit better than you are today. If you just do that, I call it the compound interest of life. The compound interest of life will accumulate, and you'll watch your life go to places you never know it could be. And to me, that's where you take it. So,
Yeah.
but Lauren, thank
I
you. Yeah. Thank you so much
thank
for coming on the
you.
podcast. You did a great job. And for listeners, remember, we're going to have a link to the book, Talk Back Barbie, in the show notes. Do you have a website, or if people were interested in getting in touch with you or
Yeah.
talking to you about the brand and stuff, we'll give that
Yep.
to us as well.
Talkbackbarbie.com. Yep.
Yep.
Talkbackbarbie.com. And they can send me an email at talkbackbarbie@gmail.com as well if they need to reach out and ask me any questions.
Nice. So we'll put all that in the show notes too, as well, guys. So we'll try to make it as easy as possible. So if you want to reach
Yep.
out to Lauren, you can do it. So, Lauren, thank you again so much. Absolutely love it. We'll keep in touch when you
Thank
get the
you.
screenplay published or
I've
somebody
had so
buys
much
it.
fun.
Yeah, we can have you back on. That'd be great.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, there we go. That sounds good. Great job,
Bye.
Lauren. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you. I had so much fun talking to you. That just felt like such a natural conversation. I absolutely loved it. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like it was so interrogating.
Yeah, we just like that's the whole point. If like for us, I have found that if you keep the conversation kind of loose and free flowing, it goes really well. People feel comfortable opening up. They get to say whatever they want, which is the entire point of like, I'm not, we don't do
Yeah.
pre-script. I've had people say, you can ask me these 10 questions. I'm like, yeah, it's my podcast. I'll ask whatever the fuck I want. Thank you very much. However,
And they're like, but I can't answer those questions.
but
Oh my
but
gosh,
to
I
be
love
fair,
that.
we do touch on some heavy subjects sometimes depending on the guest, and I don't ever want someone to be uncomfortable. So if
Oh, yeah.
someone says, I went through some abuse, but I don't like talking about it, got it. We won't bring it up. However, if
Yeah.
I know what's on the docket, then I'm going to ask what I want about whatever's on the docket. So anyhow, it's a good
Of
format. Really
course.
appreciate you doing it.
Oh,
We'll
I
ping
loved
you
it.
with the episode when it in the marketing ahead of
Yeah.
the episode before it comes out.
Perfect. And let me know, and I'll post it all over social media and tag y'all and everything else. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Lauren.
Have
Have
a
a good
great
night.
night.
All right, you
Bye.
too. Okay, guys. So, look, Lauren just did an awesome job. Just loved her message. Very inspiring. Uh, Knew what she wanted to pursue from a young age, and then did the work to put herself in position to pursue and achieve those things, despite a lot of odds against her, and despite some really tough experiences while they were going on. And not only did she make it through, but she took one of those experiences, the nickname, which was supposed to be derogatory, and she now has made it into her own personal brand. And she's writing a screenplay and looking to do a TV series on it. And she's got an awesome book where you can read all about her experiences. Don't forget that link's down in the show notes. So just loved having her on the podcast. She did a great job. Really appreciative of her taking the time with us tonight. And when she's rich and famous from selling her story and making all these great movies and TV shows, hopefully she'll remember us and she'll come back on the podcast and talk to us then. So great job, Lauren. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you coming on. What's it up over here every day? Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All the podcast episodes are there. All the social media account links are there. Publish a newsletter every weekday you can subscribe to there. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe to the podcast wherever you consume it. We have awesome guests. They give you great inspirational stories and advice and actionable tips on how you can build a life of meaning and purpose. You don't want to miss all those great anecdotes. You don't want to miss all that great life experience. You don't want to miss all of those actionable items that you can incorporate right now to start building the life that you want. Make sure that you check out our next episode. We will see you there.